All right, what other poll questions do we have aside from the hard-hitting one that you led off with?
The Lions going for it on fourth down is a good idea or bad idea?
I'm looking at the numbers here, and a lot of times we'll say, we've said this before, down through the years, the decades I've covered sports, that team has to learn how to get over the hump. The Pistons, they couldn't get by the Bulls, and then they got by the Bulls and never looked back. Get by the Celtics, then you get by the Celtics, you never look back. Or the Bulls couldn't get by the Celtics. I mean, we've seen this with a variety of teams. Normally it's basketball, sometimes it's football. But here are the Lions again, going for it on fourth down, and you go back to last year's NFC title game, you're up 24-7. But this is the philosophy of this coach. I don't know if I can say don't have that philosophy once you get to a certain situation. If this is who you are, this is who your team is, this is what your team is geared for, then do it. You live by it, you die by it. And there's a feeling almost as you're a high-stakes gambler. Dan Campbell is sitting there at the craps table or blackjack, and he's probably doubling down when you go, what are you doing? Or he's taking a hit on 16. Like, there's just moments, and the high can be the highest of highs, and the low can be obviously a loss. But you look at the fourth down situations. In 2 games against Green Bay this season, the Lions are 6 for 7 on fourth down with 4 touchdowns. The 4 fourth down touchdowns, most by any team against an opponent in a single season in 24 years. Woo!
Ow! Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Stat of the day! Stat of the day! This is the stat of the day!
And since Dan Campbell took over as the coach, that's 2021, the Lions lead the NFL in fourth down attempts, 140, fourth down conversions, 77. So that's a 55% success rate, but that is 13th in the league over that span. Here is Dan Campbell, the Lions head coach, on his brand of football.
Look, I told the guys knew, players knew, the coaches knew. Listen, this is don't ride the wave. You know, we could be up 2 scores, we could be down 2 scores, but just because we're one or the other, we got to play our style of game going in. What we felt like we needed to do, what I felt like we needed to do, and so that meant the risk was there, and and you fell in negative territory. You're trying to hold them to a field goal. But I knew that was how I wanted to play that team with where we were at.
Here's the Packers head coach Matt LaFleur on why his team lost.
You got to play better. So I think there are some areas that we can really look at this where we have to improve upon, situationally, like third down, that was critical. And then not coming away with a touchdown there at the end in the red area, that was tough as well. But I think really offensively and defensively, the third and fourth down was probably the difference in the game.
Packers are now 9-4. The Lions are 12-1. They still have a pretty tough schedule the rest of the year. They have a game with Buffalo coming up really soon. But the Lions, are they the best team in the NFC? Are they the best team in the NFL? I think if you're the best team in the NFC, you're the best team in the NFL. It's just a weird feeling I have. And I know that we talk about this. Players talk about it. Coaches talk about it. Can you peak too soon? Can you peak too soon? And I want to talk to Ross Tucker and Booger McFarland about that because it sometimes is 2 schools of thought. That you see these teams who all of a sudden pick up momentum, may not win their division, but they're going to go on a run and they're going to win 5 in a row going into the playoffs. They've been fighting for playoff survival. Those are the teams who go far. They do damage. Sometimes you build up that lead and then you have some meaningless games at the end of the season, which may happen for the Lions. And then we see those teams have a hard time getting it started, turning on flipping the switch. And that might happen to the Lions again. I think the Eagles right now are better than the Lions. But it's only because I look at the Eagles as not as banged up as the Lions. The Lions are bringing in defensive players like they're trying to piece this together. Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator, has done a wonderful job there. But it still feels like that team has got to outscore you. It's about their offense, because I don't think they can rely on their defense being stout week in and week out when we get to the playoffs. But the Eagles feel like the most balanced team in football, at least right now. Yes, Eden.
Where do you put the Chiefs in your sort of power rankings of teams? If Lions are 1, right? Eagles are 2. How far back do you get before you hit the Chiefs? Might be
Out of respect,
yeah.
out of respect for Andy and Patrick Mahomes, they're in the top 5.
So you still have the Bills.
The Bills have been a better team.
Yeah.
I mean, whether you say, well, what are they going to be in the playoffs? You know, they can't get over the hump in the playoffs. I understand all of that. This is regular season right now, the eye test. And you can make a case. The Steelers might be better than the Chiefs, playing better than the Chiefs. I know that there's always that asterisk, and that asterisk is Patrick Mahomes. Everything, and then there's the but. If they get in, when they get in, who do they play? And are they hosting playoff games? But just the eye test doesn't mean how this plays out at the end of the year. I picked the Lions to win the Super Bowl. But if you said that Philly won, Kansas City won, now Buffalo, I would be a little surprised if they were able to piece those games together. But, you know, here's a team that's already clinched their division. You're going to have home field advantage, but are you going to be able to turn it back on once the playoffs start? Because you'll have that opportunity to have a first-round bye. So those are the things that would concern me now as we head into, you know, the final 5 weeks of the regular season. What is going to happen? Who's healthy? Who's getting healthy? And, you know, any chance Aiden Hutchinson is able to come back for the playoffs, maybe the Super Bowl. But I still look at the Eagles as maybe the most balanced team in football. Doesn't mean they're the best, but they're the most balanced. And with what I see eye test-wise, they're probably best in the NFC. Yes, Eden.
You know, it's interesting when you start looking at those teams, too, like we were just talking about. You have some combination of Lions, Bills, Chiefs, Eagles, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you have, say, another combination of Steelers, Vikings, Packers. At some point, now you're looking, you still haven't mentioned the Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
Ravens are probably they're still a top 10 team for sure, but they don't scare you as much as maybe they did at the beginning of the season.
Yeah. The Chargers might know who they are better than the Ravens do for some reason.
Yes.
But it's because the Ravens don't play defense. Like, you have to have one of those great games. Like, you go out there and you got to score. You can't kick field goals. And you got a field goal kicker who can't kick right now. So that's the fun part of this. You're trying to piece together a Rubik's Cube. How much time do you have before we get to the postseason?